One of the things with African American history is that there are some myths of African American history. One is that our histories are unknowable, that we, particularly when we're talking about this early period, that it's difficult to know, or maybe impossible to know, the history of slavery, the history of the experience of enslaved people. Another myth of African American history related to that is this idea that other groups have perfect knowledge of their histories. And again, I want to say that that's not true of any group. Part of what it means to be an historian and to write history is to find out as much as you can about the past, but recognize that we are always looking backward and reinterpreting what happened. Sometimes we're doing that with more information because we know how the story ended in a sense. So if you think about slavery as a moral question, well, we're in a very different moral, political place about slavery. So we know how the story ended of slavery, of civil war. That question has been resolved. So when we look back at the past, we look back with that, if you will, information or in perspective or whatever. But sometimes we look back at questions in the past and we don't have all the information we might want to have. And then it is the job of the historian as a writer and as an interpreter to make an educated guess about the past. No group, though, has a perfect knowledge. No history is perfect in that sense. We're just trying to create and understand how we got here often, or simply trying to maybe create and understand and visit a moment in the past. But we always have to have a little bit of humility that we can't possibly know everything, but we do the best we can. Another myth, also related, again, is this idea that family histories are more easily accessible for other groups than for African Americans. And right now, there's a big genealogy boom. If you think about, if any of you watched the Henry Louis Gates series or the Finding Our Roots, or what was I can't remember the name of the other one. We are in the middle of a big genealogy boom, and a lot of people, because of the internet, because of the more and more accessibility to sources, ancestry.com and other things like that, more and more people are finding out more and more about their own family histories than ever before. And I think eventually trained academics like me are going to turn to some of that information, because these family researchers are incredible. I have had incredible conversations with them. They're reading everything I read, and sometimes they're reading more than I read because they have more time. And they are using that to interpret their family histories. And it's really fascinating. I would encourage any of you to think about interviewing your grandparents and your parents and finding out about their family history. I really regret I think when I was in third grade, I interviewed my grandmother, and I have a little bit of a memory of that. And I so wish that I had done it again when I was older, because this is my mother, my grandmother, my father's side, because there's some things she said about her, I think her grandmother. If I remember, walking in slavery from Virginia to Louisiana, and I can't tell you how many times I wake up and wish that I had gone back to her, or that I knew enough to ask her more about that in that moment. So I just want to encourage you to do an oral history if you can with some of the people in your family. You'll be surprised the stories that they have, the histories that they hold, and tape record it. Now we have Zoom. You can do it on Zoom and record it. So I would strongly encourage you to do that.